It's good to be with you. So good. This week just passed was planned to be the next session at Mountain Cloud, culminating on Roshi's 80th birthday. There was a celebration of that birthday by a global Sangha, people sitting all over the world in his honor. And just with that in mind, this passage from On the Endeavor of the Way came up, so I'd like to share it. When even for a moment you sit upright in samadhi, expressing the Buddha mudra, that is the Buddha form, the whole world of phenomena becomes the Buddha seal, the Buddha expression, and the entire sky turns into enlightenment. This being so, the zazen of even one person at one moment imperceptibly accords with all things and fully resonates throughout all time. Thus, in the past, future, and present of the limitless universe, this zazen carries on the Buddha's transformation endlessly and timelessly. Each moment of zazen is equally the wholeness of practice, equally the wholeness of realization. Happy birthday, Roshi, born right now. Last week, Ruben Habito Roshi offered the Teisho on Thursday night for Mountain Cloud. He so skillfully, vitally spoke to the heart of the matter of the global pandemic, shining the beam of this practice on the anxiety, stress, and displacement many are feeling, and naming the root cause, our anxiety about death. Ruben quoted the night verse, resolving the matter of life and death is of prime importance. If you missed his talk, check it out on the Mountain Cloud YouTube page. The 3 fruits of Zen spring to life. So sitting in the wake of that talk brought to mind a text I kept company with years ago while writing a dissertation. The text, Psalm 90, is a lament about the brevity of human life. The psalm turns on this one line. Teach us to count our days truly, that we might bring forth a heart of wisdom. As a graduate student, I was drawn to this Hebrew wisdom text because of its multiple ways of meaning making and its resonance with the 3 fruits of Zen. Concentration, the gathering focus of resting fully in the here and now. Kensho, the inbreaking of seeing, awakening to who you truly are. And the 3rd fruit, the lifelong process of embodying, personalizing, clarifying, awakening in day-to-day life. Teach us to count our days truly. How can we live each day for what it truly is? How do we match ourselves to the real value of this transitory life in a way that brings forth, offers a heart of wisdom? Or, as Reuben framed the question, what might it take to come to the end of your life, whenever that will be, and be at peace? Be satisfied that your days have been whole, complete, realized to the full. To count our days truly. There's a lot of talk about time these days. In this country, more than 33 million people have become unemployed in the past 7 weeks. Many are struggling for resources, but with time on their hands. Most of us are still sheltering in place, some working from home, some homeschooling, but with a very different sense of the passing of the days. We're here now, so it must be Sunday. Many of us are finding more time for practice or space in confinement. We may be experiencing a quality of fluidity and timelessness that serves as a cue, an invitation to come home to the boundless, timeless spaciousness of who we truly are. Into this space this week came a fairly faintly remembered passage, a koan from the sayings of Joshu. Here it is. A monk asked Joshu, during the 24 hours, how is the mind put to use? Joshu replied, you are being used by the 24 hours, while this old monk is using the 24 hours. Which of these times are you talking about? What a hook for the discriminating mind. Most of us know well what it feels like to be used by the 24 hours, to be at the mercy of time. We can riff on it in everyday language. Time leaves us in the dust. Time drags on. Not enough time. Let's kill some time. Keeping up with time. Time to go. Caught up in time. Time marches on. No time to lose. Time will tell. All in due time. Take advantage of the time you've got. Outrun time. Make up for lost time. Time is on my side. Time is money. Time is wasting. Time is of the essence. Time flies when you're having fun. Time to go. Time to remember. I don't have time for this. I've got all the time in the world. Time waits for no one. Time is all you've got. No time like the present. Once upon a time. You get the drift. Joshu responds in a way that is so remarkably current. You are being used by the 24 hours while this old monk is using the 24 hours. Or in another translation, this old monk can use the 24 hours. This is old Joshu. Joshu teaching after 40 years with Nansen and 20 years of pilgrimage. Joshu finally settling down in a tiny temple with not that many monks. Meager provisions, thin soup, sometimes no tea, according to the sayings, according to Joshu's laments, sometimes with barely enough to survive. This old monk is using the 24 hours. We can hear the echo of ordinary mind is the way, coming from his marrow. The vast and boundless great empty firmament is using the 24 hours. Before knowing, perfectly fitting, functioning accordingly without design. No one doing anything, but all these things are happening. What freedom, what fluidity, creativity, capacity. Joshu isn't just using time. He is time. He is what Dogen calls time being. So are we. This very moment, without the slightest gap. There is no time outside of this. This. Sitting, listening. You are time. Raising a hand is time. Dogen names and investigates this in dense detail in his quite famous essay, Uji, or Being Time, or the Time Being. Just a few lines. Time itself is being, and all being is time. Each moment is all being. Each moment is the entire world. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. Sitting in zazen, the computer is sitting, the desk is sitting, the lamp. COVID-19 is sitting. Whole world sitting. Is any being or any world left out of your sitting? Is any time left out? Recently, I had a poignant exchange with a student who is deep into the koans for a second time. She recalled taking up the same koan, the same one we were looking at, exactly 17 years ago to the day during a session with a visiting teacher. She had the date in her booklet. Where did those 17 years go? She asked. Then She described sitting in the Doksan line at that session in a familiar place and hearing a sound she didn't recognize. Ch, ch, ch. Turns out it was a helper in the kitchen chopping herbs. All those years, where did they go? Ch, ch, ch. There they are. Right there. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. Earlier this week, I emailed that line from Dogen to a young Zen student who is navigating some life decisions. What to do with what Mary Oliver calls your one wild and precious life. How to choose, how to plan. What if I don't get it right? What if I come to the end of my life and feel it is unfulfilled, not enough, that it didn't measure up? What if I'm not ready to die? No amount of activity or accomplishment will close that gap. For that, we have to take the leap to release our grip on the I, me, mine, and plunge into the boundless, bottomless, empty, infinite now. Teach us to count our days, truly. My mantra during those days, years of writing that project was one, one, one. Recalling that now, I instantly hear Rion Roshi saying, put any number you want there, whatever the number, it's whole, complete. 1, 10, 50, 10 million, 33 million. Each moment is all being, Dogen writes. Each moment is the entire world. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. The young student received my message from Dogen with gratitude and a moment's easing. Then added, the separator is also there. The separator. I have never heard anyone call it that. Our phantom delusion swooping in to divide the indivisible. When I wrote to ask the students permission to share this, she hoped it might be of help. The separator, the great nemesis, now a character in a comic book. The laugh itself is lifetimes of fulfillment. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of that laugh. So, how might these experiences of time, wistful about the past, anxious about the future, help us draw near to Joshu's unbounded freedom, freedom in using the 24 hours of the day? Joshu liked to quote a famous saying from Sozan, the first line of the Shenjin, or affirming trust in mind verses and faith in mind, heart mind. Shenjin. The quote comes up in 4 koans in the Hekigan Roku, in the Blue Cliff record. Here's just one example. This one is case 58. A monk asked Joshu, "The supreme way is not difficult. It just dislikes picking and choosing." That's the line. Many of us know it well. The great way, this way of practice realization, isn't difficult. Rather a matter of ease. If only we drop all judgment. If only there's no discrimination. If only no choosing. If only the great leveling of equality and equanimity. It's a powerful practice pointer. But it's also the fact. Whatever you do, one seamless functioning, whole, complete, no one doing anything. This old monk uses the 24 hours. Dogen has another word. He writes, "The way the self arrays itself is the form of the entire world. See each thing in this entire world as a moment of time." He goes on, "Things do not hinder one another, just as moments do not hinder one another." Nothing to hinder anything. In the great freedom of Joshu's world, the real world, this world, it's impossible to choose. So the monk asks his master, "Isn't this a pitfall for the people of today?" In other words, Master, aren't you picking and choosing by continually lifting up this quote? Maybe egging him on, maybe earnestly asking. Joshu said, "Once someone asked me about that, and I haven't been able to answer for 5 years." That is heartbreakingly beautiful. Once someone asked me that. And I don't have an answer. beyond words. Joshu so trusts the way that he doesn't need to teach. No trace, like the wind. That is his teaching. What about us? Yamada Kon puts it this way: return to your original, unadorned self. Your original, unadorned self. See just one thing as it truly is, and your separate self, body, mind, will fall away. Just to see this computer, this screen, these books, is pure joy and compassion. I wrote to John Gaynor this past week about this saying of Joshu. I thought he'd enjoy it. And if you know John, you know, sort of miracle of miracles, he wrote back. And this is what he wrote. So easy in this lockdown, with endless awful news of death, to be used by the 24 hours. That is, to be anxious, to be caught up in time, to be tossed about by circumstances. John goes on. But so wonderful to be able to use the 24 hours with Joshu's Mu Shin, no mind, the wonderful mind of before knowing and before time. That wonderful, available, no mind. So part of what encouraged me to bring this saying up today, not just encouraged, there's a kind of courage, is that I ran across a Dharma Hall discourse of Dogen, a short one, where he addresses this. It's called Monks' Bowls Open Their Mouths. Dogen writes, I can remember once a monk asked Joshu, how can we use our mind throughout the 24 hours? Joshu said, you are used by the 24 hours. This old monk can use the 24 hours. Which time are you asking about? Dogen writes, the teacher Dogen said, although Joshu said it this way, how is it for me? This is what Dogen's always doing, checking himself. How is it for me, Ehe, having arrived at this point? How is it now? Dogen writes, you are used by the 24 hours as though addressing the monk. But I allow that you understand ancestral teacher Zen. Ancestral teacher Zen, the Zen of practice. This old monk, Joshu, can use the 24 hours. So I allow that the old monk understands Tathagata Zen, the Zen of the sutras, the Zen of realization. Dogen says, this is the reality of going beyond Buddhas and ancestors. And then he asks, what is the reality within the house of Buddhas and ancestors? The reality right here, now. After a pause, Dogen said, the monks' bowls open their mouths and eat rice. Kind of puts an end to talk. Used by the mind, used by the hours, using the hours. Everything functioning. Nothing left out, and no thing at all. Nothing at all going on. What a world. Today, I've been reminded, thankfully, is Mother's Day. So, in honor of mothers, which we all have, and all in some way are, I'd like to close with a poem by Sylvia Ostertag Roshi, a mother and irrepressible teacher even now, 9 years after her death. It's called Lifetime. All things pass quickly away. The more of your life you have lived, the more quickly it seems to have passed. What can you do except not think about it? Sometimes I imagine I am a fly with a 1 minute lifespan. Then my only option is to immerse myself fully in this small now. There is nothing there which passes away quickly. There, time is eternity. When you fully immerse yourself in this immeasurably small now. Immeasurably small. Immeasurably large. Fully immersed. Right there, where you sit. Right here, where we sit together. Thank you. Thank you for your practice.
Let's just sit for a moment, folks. What an amazing talk. those 5 years when Joshua couldn't answer. Can you find them? Can you find what a boundless gift they are? Okay, Valerie, thank you very, very much indeed. What a beautiful, powerful, inspiring gift for us all this morning. Thank you. Just I just want to just make one little sort of clarification, just in case it's needed, that the retreat we're having in late May, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, is 3 full days, starting on that Friday morning, the 22nd. We'll have, I think hopefully you've seen Valerie's PayPal, I think, if you would like to offer Dana for today. Luke, could you maybe just chat that around if needed, or will you put up the sheet at the end? Luke, could you do that? Thanks. Okay, I got a yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. So folks, I think we'll close up now. I mean, once again, big thanks, very big thanks, Valerie. That was very beautiful indeed. And I just hope that you sort of all, get that, if you're trying to understand, you don't get it that way. You're trying to understand what Valerie was presenting incredibly beautifully and clearly and powerfully. Just, you don't get it through understanding. Understanding is the work of that separator. You can't figure this out. It's a discovery about this very moment, which when you make it, all of what Valerie was saying is clear. No effort. And if you wrestle with it mentally, logically, you'll never get it. You just have to trust. Those of you working on Moo, I'm speaking to students working with me, those of you working on Moo, that's how you get it. You just give yourself up to your Moo practice. Okay, thank you all very much, especially Valerie, and also big thanks to Luke for setting us up and leading us today. And I hope you have a really wonderful rest of the day, honoring or being honored, as or toward mothers everywhere. We're all basically children of Prajna Paramita, the great mother. Let's not forget that. So our very sitting today is already honoring of the great mother, and of course we do it every moment. We're honoring great mother, Prajna Paramita. Okay, thank you.